you have this one of your talking points that talks about the percentage of married black men that are actually married to Caucasian women, and this is big. You talk blatantly. Why don't you drop that on us? I really want to hear this.
This is, I got into like a half a beef. Is it okay if I say half a beef? Because I'm getting ready to get out of all intellectual mode and get real lax on y'all in a second. But like, with Essence Magazine, they did an article on me, and the sisters went nuts. I mean, they just went crazy over that because what happens is it's salient. When I say salient, that's just something that's just when you see it, it just jumps out at you. And so you could see like about 40 brothers and 40 sisters together walking up and down, at your local mall. But if you see one brother with one white girl, it's this thing. It's like you put a spotlight on them, so it sticks in your sight. And how we've been trained up in the ways of like, my grandmothers, don't you bring no white women in this house, that with all that history and heritage already inside of our heads, that we disproportionately perceive what's going on. And I ask, again, you might know the answers already because you've seen the talking points, but, you can ask the average sister, if you got 100 brothers who are married, what percent of them, that 100 marries white women? And I had one sister say 80%. I was like ready to drop the camera and fight her right in the middle of the street. But the true number is 5.64%. I mean, about 5 out of 100. And that's
really?
Yeah, and that's what it is. And if you add up even brothers who marry the Asians and the Hispanics and all that other stuff, it's a little less than 9, about 8.7, I believe is where it was. But it's nothing. It shouldn't even be a conversation. But you got to understand, Essence can do this little series of things of what is the new trend in brothers dating white women or the down low or just a bunch of foolishness. Y'all go out and buy them papers and read them and believe.
But Janks, what happens is I understand what you're saying, so that while they exacerbate this persona of all black men, they love white women. You understand? And the black sister is the second. She is the crumbs off the table. You understand?
Right.
But the thing is, you remember what devastates you the most. Now, I don't care how much you are, how well you speak to me, how nice you are. If you treat me bad one time, that's what I'm going to remember. You understand what I'm saying?
No,
so when you're dealing with black women and whatever it is, but if I feel rejected or if I feel like you are disrespecting me as a woman, and my people, then that's what I remember. That's what I think. So this is why you got the 80%. No, I mean, I'm just saying, this is why you got the 80% from the young lady who was like 80% of her, because she's probably seen 3 or 4
I'm agreeing with you, because really the first question that comes to mind when she drops to 80% is like, did your brother leave you for a white woman?
Exactly. That's probably what happened.
Yeah, that's the first thing that jumps in my head. Then I wanted to beat her. I'm sorry, I got my order mixed up. But what I'm saying to you is that we've been conditioned to look for. From a clinical setting, it's called the deficiency mindset. It's basically you look for the worst first.
Right.
So. Here's what I do when I lecture. This was one of the drives. Sisters would be ready to run me off the stage when I do this. And I lectured at HBCUs and big colleges all over the country. I start my lecture off like this, and watch where your mind goes. You guys have gotten a little bit of insight into where I'm coming from, but if I walk fresh on the stage and say these 3 things, the first thing I say is, I don't date black women. The whole place just takes pause with that. Then I say... I'm
surprised you make it to question. I'm surprised you make it out the door.
Here's number 2. I don't date white women either. Number 3, I say, I don't date women, period. Right at that juncture, and this is classic, the deficiency mindset, about half of the room, if I say fill in this blank, I am blank, half of the room is going to say what?
Gay.
Yeah. And that's classic deficiency, looking for the worst first. I'm married.
Oh, that's nice.
And
then people can say, why is gay a deficiency? You understand what I'm saying?
I'm not. And I get that again from more real hard left-leaning people. But what I'm saying is, you've been trained up in the ways to look for the shortcomings in black men. Since you were, since she was a baby, for real.
Definitely.
So you're going to be looking for the worst first, and that some people, they get into their feelings when they say, well, why is homosexuality got to be the worst? I'm saying when it relates to our relationships, that's one less brother you got in the ante, shortage is already there. So call it whatever you want. What I'm telling you is you have been preconditioned to look for the negative in each other, black men and black women. I meet you. I remember this when I first started filming the first deal. My buddy was telling me on camera about this deal he had. He went to the club, and a girl put it just like this: "How you doing? What's your name? What do you do? You ain't on the down low, are you? You out of your mind? Have you lost your rabbit mind?" It's just got real specific and devastating consequences to our relationship dynamic. Think as you try to relate to a brother that you feel him, but somewhere in the back of your mind you are looking for Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde to jump out in a minute. You know what I mean? It's got to be there. Mr. Hyde is in there.
But you know what you're saying really reminds me of a conversation Janine and I had off air the other night. It was like last night, and I was telling her, we were talking about how, they were talking about Michelle Obama's clothes, and they were so into her clothes, and we have been, and I was telling her how as a society we have been encultured as black women and black people. We have been encultured to demean ourselves and degrade ourselves and to be so down on ourselves. That I was telling her how if I hear one more thing, I said I give people 7 more days talking about this woman's clothes versus how heavy her brain is. Right. You understand? Because she's a heavy lady. When you think about the fact that his first job, she was his mentor. Right. Understand? Barack's mentor. So you look at how heavy she is, where she came from, how she grew up, how she's raising 2 children with him, how she's being this strong, deliberate wife, that he needs at the time. And we're talking about her clothes and the material made of. So
when I go back to the lectures, here's what I talk about, and this is the triangulation that's happening on black psyche today. The deficiency mindset or deficit model thinking is really clinical terms of what I'm talking about. Looking for the worst first.